Wise. Welcome back. And welcome back to a new speaker. Let me share my screen and I would like to introduce you. Aigerim, I hope that I'm saying your name correctly, but you can unmute yourself and say it correctly because I'm well known for butchering names.
It's Aigerim, but almost.
Almost, yes.
Yeah.
So she's been working in the data industry in Finland for 4 years now as data analyst and marketing data consultant and internal data analyst. So you are very on topic now because a lot of our participants are interested in your role. So her work experience comes from the SSS industry, having worked in growing Finnish startup as Supermetrics and Fixably, another Basher name, I'm sure. You have a master's degree in information and service management from Aalto University, that I say correctly. And she's been working as a data analytics engineer focused on building internal data models and BI reports. I have no idea what I said, so now I stop sharing and you can explain us better what is your current role, what are you doing, and explain better. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for the introduction. Really honored and happy to present here. So thanks everyone for joining. And I'm really glad to see so much interest in analytics since it's a rewarding job and I encourage people to apply and go into data analytics or business analytics. Okay, let's get started. So I will share my screen. Can you see my screen now?
Yes, we do. Thank you.
Okay, great. As Lucy introduced me, I'm Aigerim, and I will be talking to you about data analytics engineer, data analyst career path. I've been in the field for like around 4 years, so I've got overview of how it's like to work in data, what kind of tasks involved. So I will share today my knowledge about that. Okay, here is agenda for today's presentation. First, I will talk about the role itself and the career prospects, and then the typical day as a data analytics engineer or data analyst. Then the context for the role. So I will introduce to you how it's like to work as a data analytics engineer, what kind of teams you would interact with. And then lastly, I will provide the suggestions for learning materials. Okay, let's get started. So the first about the role and career prospects. So data analytics engineer is itself a new role in the data. It was introduced, it's been like around 3 to 4 years. And it was in fact introduced by the company called DBT, which stands for Data Build Tool. So this company actually gave a name to the role. So an analytics engineer basically is a specialist, a modern data team member that is responsible for modeling data to provide clean, accurate data sets so that different users within the company can work with them. And the role entails transforming, testing, and documenting data. So the keywords here are modeling data and then transforming, testing, and documenting data. So the role is quite technical compared to data analyst. And for the career prospects, so you can grow vertically, so you can into senior analytics engineer or data analyst, or you can go into managerial path and become a team lead. This role is also great because you can transition horizontally, so you can go into more technical side and become a data engineer or software engineer, because you would be working a lot with the software engineering best practices and with the data engineering side. Or alternatively, you can go more into a business role and become like a data analyst, business analyst, data scientist, or product analyst. So the career prospects are quite broad for this role. Now I will focus the most on this slide since I think it's very important for those who would like to go into this direction. So I'll talk about the skills now for analytics engineer, and data analyst also shares quite a lot of those skills with analytics engineer. So first, let's talk about the technical skills. So for the technical skills, the most important, I would say, is SQL, standing for Structured Query Language. So it's the language that you use to interact with the databases. So you write queries to extract data from the database using SQL. So you need to be like super sharp and super skilled with SQL. Then I have written here DBT, so data build tool. So I think you should at least be familiar how it works to start working in this role. Then BI tool. So as a data engineer or data analyst, you work with like reporting in general. So it's good to know how to work with BI tools and be aware of what is in the market. Then the last 2 points are related more to software engineering, and here is where like the distinction from data analyst comes from. So you would need to be aware how to work with Git. So you would need to know a version control and why it's used, and then the basics of programming, for example, in Python. And for the concepts, so first of all, it's important to know data modeling and documentation. What are the best practices around this topic? So how you should model the data, why you should model the data that way, how you should structure your data pipeline. So this kind of topics will be asked in the interview. Software engineering best practices, so version control, as I mentioned, also very important because you will be working according to the flow of like a software engineer. So you will be writing code and then pushing it to production using your command line. Then awareness of modern data stack tools. So you need to have an understanding what kind of tools are used to structure the modern data pipeline. So you would need to know what kind of, like from the beginning to the end, how the data flows. So what kind of data ingestion tools are out there, Fivetran, Airbytes, Stitch, Supermetrics. So you would need to know what kind of tools exist on the market and what they do. And then most important ones is to know how to work with data warehouse, because now most of the organizations who have modern data stacks, they would use cloud data warehouse. So you need to be familiar with one of those, be it Snowflake, BigQuery. They have quite similar like logic with kind of different flavors of data warehouses, but you would need to be familiar how they work and how the costing works, so that you're aware how like your queries that you write impact the cost. So how billing works, for example. Then technical documentation and tools for your work. So you would need to know how to document your data models, how to document different changes that you do. For that, you will need to be familiar with, like, for example, Confluence, Atlassian, Shortcut, like those tools for project management around, like, basically IT projects. So that's for the technical stack, and I believe that's what I written here. It's enough to like be technically equipped to apply for this job. And I could briefly mention for data analyst, it's more important like here to focus on SQL and BI tools, because as a data analyst, you might not work with like version control at all. It depends. or like with data engineering side. Then for the soft skills, so non-technical skills. So this role is challenging because you would need to be both technically good and also you would need to have good soft skills. So you would need to have, first of all, business understanding. So what are key KPIs in your organization, how your company's business model is structured, or the companies that you are applying for, you would need to have like an understanding what are the key KPIs, how they earn money, what is the business logic, and what key KPIs they might have. Then the last 2 points here, stakeholder management and communication skills are very important because in your work as a data analytics engineer or data analyst, you will be working a lot with non-technical people. So you would need to be able to interview people from different departments. So your like internal clients, customers. So interview stakeholders, get correct requirements, manage their expectations, communicate progress and updates. So you would need to be able to ask the right questions in non-technical terms when you gather requirements, and then go back and translate those non-technical requirements into technical requirements and like write the code. So being able to ask the right questions, present your findings so that business people understand you, because they might not be familiar with like the technical jargon. So you would need to be able to communicate with them. So that's an overview of the skills that I believe are like really necessary for both roles. And here's another slide from DBT. So here they explain what's the difference between analytics engineer and data analyst. So analytics engineers are responsible to provide clean data sets to end users, model data in a way that empowers end users to answer their own questions, while a data analyst spends their time analyzing data. An analytics engineer spends their time transforming, testing, deploying, and documenting data. So if you think about the data pipeline, data analyst would be a bit more on the kind of side of the end product, where they got the data, they might like transform it, and then they present it in the BI tool, and then they present findings to stakeholders. And data engineer, analytics engineer is more like on the earlier side, where they focus on transforming, testing, creating data models, and then deploying to production. Then here are analytics engineering best practices that you can refer to. So if you are a data analyst, like I came to, like I transitioned, so from data analyst to analytics engineer, it's good to get familiarized with those topics. So first, version control. And you need to know that to trace the history of changes in data sets and roll back to all the versions if something goes wrong. So how to control versions of your code. Data unit testing to examine small chunks of data transformations for quality and correspondence to the set tasks. So basically, you would need to be able to like test, write tests to make sure that your data is showing correct results. So you write small tests on your data models before pushing the code to production. Then continuous integration and continuous delivery to ensure up-to-date and reliable data. So that's more on data engineering side, but it's good to be familiar with like this topic and how it works. So that's basically to ensure that nothing goes wrong in the production code. And here is a table showing different roles in data. And you can see here how it differs, like on a scale from business focused to tech focused, and what kind of tools you expected to know. So we see here, analytics engineer is clearly more tech focused than the data analyst. And the tech stack is, well, SQL, Python, R, dbt, Git, cloud data warehouses. And the typical day as a data analytics engineer. So usually I would start my day with like a team stand-up or internal stakeholder meeting. So you meet with the team or you meet with people with whom you're working on some project. Then you would have time to work on your own projects, meaning that you like write the code, for example, or you create a report in a BI tool. Then there is time to check and answer emails plus support tasks. So it's quite common if you are internal like data analyst or analytics engineers that you would have some support tasks that you handle as a customer support specialist, for example, but for internal clients. Then you would have time to work on your own projects. And then lastly, like plan, update task list for the next day. That's like a typical day. So there are meetings and where you like talk to people, gather requirements, communicate progress. And there is time where you focus on your own tasks individually. And I'm talking from the perspective of like internal data specialist. So you don't like interact with external people like clients that much. And then context for the role. So as an analytics engineer or internal data analyst, you are expected to interact with both business and engineering teams. So for me, as an analytics engineer, I worked with those teams listed here. So customer support, operations, service quality control, then engineering tech team, sales and marketing teams. So typically the business departments are your clients and the tech teams are your helpers. So you can go with them in case you have problem with your data or your code, or you find some like problem in the data that seems to be a technical issue. So there is lots of like interaction with other teams that you would expect to happen. So that's like about the role in general and what it involves. And now here I added study materials that you should look into if you are interested to become an analytics engineer, especially. So lots of those focus on DBT. So you can basically take courses from DBT, the company itself. It's called Fishtown Analytics, I believe. So they provide free self-learning courses as well as paid ones. I personally did those myself and I found them good. So you should definitely check them out. Then there is Analytics Engineering Club with a 10-week program that teaches the main skills. And Udemy has a special course to learn DBT from scratch. And then there are even like now programs offering the Masters of Data Science in Data Analytics and Engineering, Data Analytics Engineering. So it's cool to see that there are actually now also university teaching you the profession of analytics engineer. That's like the brief overview. So yeah, thank you for your attention. And yeah, let me know if you have any questions.
Thank you, Aigerim. We do have questions. So I think you already shared some resources there. We can contribute them perhaps to the chat as well. Mm-hmm. But there's a question about what software do you use for data modeling?
For data modeling, I use DBT. So data build tool that I mentioned. But of course, like you don't have to use DBT. It really depends on your company. So you can also model your data directly in the data warehouse. Like for example, you can write data model directly to Snowflake or BigQuery. So data build tool, it's more to basically ensure that your data model like gets updated every day. So it's more like in order to plan your data updates and make them automatic.
Right. Got it. Thank you. And if you want to share some other tools, or I'm sure the companies that you might be looking forward to joining might share some intel about what tools they use in their job descriptions, especially. But maybe it would be nice to hear about a little bit about your career as well. Aha, there is a question. Okay, I'll delay my own question.
Okay.
Let's take the question from the chat. There is a question. Do you use your work skills also in your private life?
Well, I would say if you are become like a data analyst or data analytics engineer, yes, you have this analytical mindset, so that really helps in daily life. So you approach things like analytically. Yeah, and you learn to calculate things fast. I would say that's what happened to me.
I love that. Syria, you have your hand up.
Yeah.
Yeah, I actually have again 2 questions. So the first one is that before, during one earlier presentation, we had a question like, are communication skills important in this role? And then we had the discussion that these communication skills are in general important in every role. And then, of course, some people were a bit like, that, because I mean, in general, we do have people who are more introverted, and I'm not saying that they don't have great communication skills, but perhaps they're not just so inclined to have a lot of communication and collaboration in their daily work. So what would be kind of your insights from the data analytics field? Like, would that be a more suitable for those people who are more introverted? What about those who are extroverted? Do they also find something that is more to their nature in the data analytics field, or some kind of maybe, insights from your side?
I would say that as a data analyst, and especially as a consultant when I worked at Supermetrics, so I talked more with like different people from different departments in this role. So you need to like talk more. But as an analytics engineer, I talked more like just within my team. I still, like I mentioned, I had projects with different departments, but not as much as a data analyst. So I would say like the opposite. So analytics engineer is like more technical, more closer to like being a software engineer. So you should really focus on writing accurate code rather than like presenting your insights and talking to people. But still, like if you don't have data analyst in your team or BI, business analytics person, you would need to like go and talk to business owners and ask clarifying questions directly. So yeah, I would think I would say it really depends, but data analyst I think is more for extroverts, analytics engineer more for introverts. That's how I would view it.
Thank you for sharing. And my other question is, what about junior position or internship positions in the company where you work? And we also have a lot of international learners in our Work in Tech program. And one of the specializations that they can get in our program is data analytics. So I also reckon that many would be interesting to joining the organizations that you work. So do you know kind of the inner culture or politics, or how open is a company for juniors and especially international juniors?
I would say in general, companies in Finland, especially in tech, are open to international applicants. Currently, for my company, I can't say because I don't work there anymore, so I can't share any open positions. So, well, I would say just applying a lot and talking to people and sharing that you're looking for a new opportunity helps. And I myself now open to new role, so I would myself go ahead and do that when I'm ready, go and apply for a lot of roles and talk to people and say yes, I'm looking for a new role. And I think referral helps as well, if someone refers you to the company, and just applying a lot and just statistically increasing your chances to get a job.
Yeah, very good.
The analytical mindset is coming through.
Yeah.
Love it.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Let's see. No chat questions at the moment. Feel free to submit more if you have any. We have a little bit of time left still with Aya here. I have a question as well. So when you think about your career, what do you think are good entry points to the data field in general? Is it a data analyst? Is it do you see that data analyst is the best gateway role, or can you start in a more technical position as well? Do you have any insights based on your experience to share?
It depends on what are your strengths and what kind of educational background you come from. So I would say if you, example, have a bachelor's degree like I did from business school, I would say I would start from business analyst or data analyst. Those two fields, because you can quickly learn skills that are needed for this role. So if you learn SQL and BI tool, you're good to go and apply for the data analyst role. So just really master SQL. I myself, when I prepared for the interviews, I did tasks on this lead code, I think it's called lead code. Yeah. So basically just master SQL, you learn BI tool and be able to present your findings, present yourself. So I think in terms of technical skills, these are good starting positions, because you can start and then learn on the job.
Very good insights, and that I'm happy that you also mentioned the presentation skills. So that is also something that our learners can, acquire aside from the analytical tools. So how to really visually, in a nice and understandable way, show what the data tells. So this is also something that those who want to start from that angle and enter into the data field should maybe take some additional courses, and I'm pretty sure that there are many available which are free that actually teach you these skills.
Yes, yeah. But
did you have a question? I'm sorry,
just to add, I think it's you can basically start without kind of very good communication skills, because I think you learn them on the job, but as you progress in your career, you get a sense how to communicate correctly. So you will learn that on the job. But to really succeed, I think you need to be able to communicate well, present your findings, and not use technical jargon. Yeah,
that's a great point. They say that if you can explain it like I'm 5, then you truly know what you're talking about. Lucia, did you? still have a question.
Yeah, I was wondering, previous speakers said that they have like communities for the kind of roles, so cybersecurity community, etc. Do you have this kind of community in Finland with like data analyst community or data engineers community, where you can like if you are new to the job and you want to start to network and you want to start to join events, is it something similar in this field?
I personally don't know like about such community, but when I just started, I went to like events by Our Ladies Coding Club. So it's like an organization that arranges workshops to learn coding in our language. So I went to those like workshops, and there are like already skilled professionals, so you can learn and network with them. So I would say maybe look at this eventbrite.com and search for events. It's also easier to like get to know people there, like see them in person, talk to them, and like through that you could learn about opportunities that they might help you to get. So I think offline might be better, but online, of course, like also beneficial. But yeah, I think like it would be good to start that in Finland, because yeah, I'm not at least aware if there is like a broader data community here.
Yeah, maybe you should go and start one yourself.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
I was just thinking about the same thing. I am a president of data analytics community.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do we have more questions? Let's see. Could you actually reshare the slide where you had the resources for learning? Because there was the question there, so maybe we can look at that for a second.
Yeah.
While we still ask questions, so people can take note if they want to attend any of these. Do you have any favorites among here, like in these programs, some that you would really recommend, or are these all recommended by you?
Well, the first point, the self-learning course in DBT, as I said before, like they are actually really good because they explain to you like the logic. So you actually like learn about the tool, and you can say that, yeah, I know what DBT is, at least at the interview. Yeah, and then the first one, the self-learning courses from DBT, I would recommend definitely. They are free as well. And Udemy, I didn't take this course personally, but Udemy has like a lot of good courses. So I usually go and check like the rating of the course, see the video preview, and then decide if I should buy it or not. But I think it's quite accessible because the courses on Udemy are like 10 to 15 euros usually. So you can learn like whatever you want from there. About the analytics engineering club, and the like that one I haven't tried myself. But I think it's something to check out because it's a 10-week program and you would like learn the main skills. So I think you might get more like in-depth skills, like more focused approach where you learn like DBT, how it works. Yeah, in my previous role, I attended like a course on DBT, like a training. It was like for the whole week. So it would be beneficial, of course, if you would like to learn like really the details of DBT and the logic and how to correctly structure your project in DBT. So that is beneficial. In general, DBT, I think it's really good because it provides like clear structure for your data in general, and then it updates like everything for you daily. So you schedule like a job, and then your data model updates daily by itself. So you don't need to worry about like missing data or like data quality issues. And also it's like a kind of becomes really popular among companies to work with DBT and have like a dedicated core team that works with DBT a lot.
And another question, I'm sorry, I'm asking a lot of questions apparently today.
Yeah, please go ahead.
But now that we've talked so much about data models and data modeling, how about the data visualization? I'm sorry, I'm not a native English speaker, but like data visualization side. So how important do you think it is to really master a BI tool, or to have like a visual eye for the like how you present your data? So is it pie graphs? Is it some kind of like bullet charts or whatnot? I'm sorry if I misnamed all of these different ways of presenting data, but maybe you can correct me.
No worries. Yeah, let me think. Well, I think like classically, like I described, if your team has data analyst or business analyst, then you, as an analytics engineer, you wouldn't like sweat that much or worry about creating reports in BI tools, because that's not like your task, kind of, it's not in your job requirements to work with BI tools. But since in general, like it's been, I also listen to like data bloggers on YouTube. They say that there is now a lot of like consolidation around data professions, in terms of that you are more expected to be full stack data person. So if a team like hires you, they might expect you to be analytics engineer and data analyst like as well. So basically you need to know how to visualize data and like how to write good data models. So you're more like full stack, and then have an understanding of data engineering side. So it really depends on how the team is structured, how like your task list will be defined. So I would say the more you learn, of course, the more valuable you are as a professional. But in terms of BI tools, it's good to know in general, because then if there is no data analyst or they leave the companies, and you can create a dashboard or check someone else's dashboard. Yeah, so I think it's important to know like BI tools as well, and like how to visualize the data in a nice way. So yeah, that's something to also work on. For me, I learned more data visualization skills on the job. I didn't really like take that many courses, maybe like a couple from, I think it was Udemy. So I learned that myself on the jobs, because you get like a sense how it's best to visualize data, and you learn from others.
Yeah, thank you for sharing. Anyone else have any final questions? We have 5 minutes before cutoff. So if you have a question, feel free to raise your hand or post in the chat.
Tatiana just put the interesting link to this ourladies.org that they start as community based in UK, in US. So maybe you can look at those to start your Finnish chapter.
Yeah. And is it okay for our participants to connect with you in LinkedIn, Aigerim, if they have more questions or they want to just professionally network?
Yeah, of course it is okay. I also wrote in the chat that if you want to learn BI tools that I haven't spoken that much in the presentation today. I would recommend to start with Data Studio. When I applied to Supermetrics, I didn't know what is Data Studio, so I learned like maybe in a week. So like it's really accessible and it's not as complicated as Power BI or Tableau or like ClickSense. So you at least get an idea of how it works. And then when you get a job, then you can learn already like Power BI or more like advanced tools, which are also like, if you want to work with them, you need to pay some fee. So they have like paid licenses, the Power BI and ClickSense, and Data Studio, or it's called Looker Studio. I think it's like completely free.
That's a great tip for everyone. So if you're looking to break into the scene, then that's a great starting point for you if you still need that visualization component in your portfolio. Awesome. And I remember you are really fast actually in learning that tool, so it can be done.
Yeah, thank you.
Rania or Ronja, sorry, I don't know how to pronounce it, was asking to reshare the pool. So let's see if the interest in the field of analytics is still predominant. So just like for fun, not seriously, but we run again the poll. Thank you so much. I will now stop the recording.